Hello and welcome to my presentation, Justice and Ethical Duties of Public Administrators for DPA 720. As we've seen from our reading this week, there are many ways to interpret what justice is, particularly from the Greek and Hebrew of the Bible. Discussing justice in this manner, though, is contextual based on the source and the reason for its discussion. Justice as it pertains to government and the role of public administration should not be based on those contexts. It should be defined by its role: equity, equal access, and defending the rights of its citizens. Government is a human structural construct, as Weber pointed out. Government is not capable of love, nor should it, even if it could. Its role is not to reinforce or enforce any particular worldview, Christian or otherwise. Its role is to provide for the protection of the rights of all citizens, including freedoms, and thereby justice. In this role, government cannot be partial to or favor anyone or any particular group over another, as it exists to represent all of the people that it serves. As Aristotle said, "For what is equitable seems to be just, and equity is justice that goes beyond the written law." Justice, specifically social justice, is what is good for all in a society, not individuals or certain groups. The government has specialized programs for those in need, like mental health programs, welfare assistance, or special housing, and all members of society have equal access to them, then it is egalitarian and not based on need. That said, not all in a society have need for such government services, but they have equal opportunity to access them if the need were to arise in their life. The difference is that these programs are not exclusively only for those with special needs while excluding others. The government should be responsible for distributive and retributive justice in an egalitarian manner in which all members of society have equal opportunity and equal access to government goods and services. It should not be the role of government to provide for the specific needs of each individual in a society. For all states that his theory of social justice is hypothetical, would that not mean that his veil of ignorance is then meant not to be literal? Could we simply take it as a metaphorical idea that our lives, experiences, worldviews, and religious beliefs guide our individual lives, but because we live in a society where many different beliefs and worldviews exist, we must not allow our individual worldviews to dictate what is good for all, but merely guide us in the conversation leading to a mutual agreement, even if the point agreed upon is for different reasons. As Christian public administrators, we can, at least to some degree, align our faith to our work, so long as it does not violate the laws or the freedoms of others. As a Christian and a coroner, there are often times that laws I have to uphold conflict with my personal Christian worldview, like assisted suicide or a fetal demise, where, according to the state of California, if a fetus is less than 20 weeks gestation, it's not reportable to the coroner and it does not receive a death certificate because it is legally considered to be, quote, non-viable tissue and therefore not a human life. Or like when the Supreme Court ruled that same-sex marriage was constitutional and therefore the law of the land, there were many with other worldviews that were not happy. It made national news at that time when a government employee refused to obey the law by not doing her job in issuing a marriage license to a same-sex couple. As an individual, you have a choice to make, as illustrated in this slide. But ultimately, you do have a duty as a public administrator. You either execute your duty or you terminate your employment. As we read in Kelly's article, street-level public administrators have different levels of discretion. Some have wide powers of discretion, while others have little to none. In Kelly's example of the school teacher using a different grading standard for one student over another, quote, that for grading to be fair, certain standards should be applied equally to everyone. In other words, grades should be based on desert. If you do a certain quality of work, you will receive a certain grade regardless of other factors. If there are exceptions to this rule, sometimes individual circumstances should be taken into account as with the failing student described in her article. If a teacher's objective is to educate all students, or as many as possible, then that means standard rules sometimes must be broken. So the question is it about educating students, or is it about getting as many kids through the system as possible? For me personally, grade school and high school were very easy. I didn't have to work very hard at all to do better than the other students in my classes. However, in high school, I had one teacher who did grade me differently than he did the other students. I was shocked when I received an average grade on an assignment when I questioned the teacher why I received a lower grade than the other students when I knew that my work was superior to theirs. The answer I got was that he knew it was easy for me and that I wasn't working to my full potential, and he was going to grade me as such. Now, at that time, I thought this was highly unfair, but in the long run, I'm grateful that I had a teacher that pushed me to do my best, not just do enough to be better than the others in my class. Now, in some situations, there are categorical imperatives that dictate only one course of action that can be taken. In law enforcement, not every situation is black and white and cannot be restrained simply to one ethics model. As public administrators carrying out or implementing policy and laws at the street level, law enforcement officers have to be able to employ a level of discretion that allows them the ability to make the best decision for a given situation. In using Svara's ethics triangle, an officer can quickly determine the consequences or outcome in choosing a particular path, either virtue-based, consequence-based, or principle-based. This could be the difference between giving a speeding motorist a warning in the hopes that they will feel truly grateful and in the future be more mindful about their driving, or the officer can strictly enforce the letter of the law and issue a ticket no matter what, possibly risking that the person gains a negative view of law enforcement and rebels in the future by continually driving fast. Again, is it about the strict enforcement of all laws, or is it about encouraging all citizens to choose to be better members of society and follow the laws of their own accord? Strictly enforcing laws without discretion, even in minor infractions, could result, as I said, in individuals intentionally rebelling against the laws. Recently, we had a case where a 17-year-old driver failed to stop, excuse me, at a stop sign. An officer attempted to pull the minor over, which very likely could have resulted in just a warning, the officer using his discretion. But unfortunately, the juvenile fled and led officers on a high-speed pursuit on city streets before he lost control of his vehicle and crashed into a power pole, ending his life. Now, my work specifically as a coroner, we don't have the ability to allow our personal understandings of justice or personal religious or philosophical convictions to dictate how we do our jobs when dealing with families. Even if the person who died was, quote, a bad person, like a gang member, racist, a criminal, drug addict, or their family members are, we don't have the power to use discretion to treat them differently. As an organization, it is our job to treat everyone the same, with the same level of compassion, recognizing that no matter how bad they are in that moment, they are human beings who lost someone that they loved, regardless of how society viewed them. If we do not employ the same level of equality, we face disciplinary action up to and including termination. And thank you.